Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kavinsky's Tutorials. Today I'm looking at Tape Pro by Caelum Audio, and that is the right pronunciation because I have checked with the developer. So it's not Caelum, it's not Caelum, it's Caelum. I do try to get developers' names right when I make a video. I think it's pretty annoying having your name mispronounced on YouTube where it's kind of there forever, and then, because I make a mistake with that, then 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 other people are all calling the dev the wrong name. All right, anyway, Tape Pro is a very nice tape emulation effect. It also has a delay included. So in the video today, we're going to first listen to it on more like a kind of master thing, just giving a warming to a track with several tracks combined, and then later I'll listen to it on this little harp piece which we're listening to now, which was recorded for me by Ian Ruddock, one of the regular subscribers to the channel, regular viewer. So thanks a lot, Ian. His details are in the comments section, or maybe in the info section actually of the YouTube info for this video. So it's a lovely piece there. So we'll listen to that later, and then we'll look in detail at the different parts of the Tape Pro interface. I'm going to try and keep this one short today, so I'm not going to do this on a whole bunch of different sources. I'm going to mostly use his harp. I'm going to try and keep this video to under the 20-minute mark if I can. Now, one thing I want to say before we start, I've got 4 copies of this to give away to subscribers to the channel. So if you're not a subscriber already, don't worry, you can just subscribe now. And all the details of what you've got to do to win are in the pinned comment at the top of the YouTube comment section. So thanks a lot to Caelum Audio for those. So also later in the video, if I have time, I will briefly mention some of the differences between this and Reelbus, which I have reviewed before. But in general, if you want to compare these two apps, which are very similar, basically, if you want the details, you should watch my video on Reelbus. It's also a very cool app. All right, so first let's listen to Tape Pro. And we're going to listen to Overdriven Mix Bus. Then sometimes I'll just turn it on and off using this button. So I'm going to start with it on, then I'm going to bring it off. And I think you'll hear there's quite a big difference. It's adding a lot to this. I really like what it's adding. So that's dry, and now wet. Okay, so you get the idea there. So it can be used to just warm up a song. I mean, it's just like tape, right? So in the past, yeah, you didn't just have tracks on tape, you had complete song on tape as well. So you can use it like that if you want, or you can apply it to individual tracks, like I'm going to do now in a second. So we have this harp track. Let me just check here. Let's just put this back on default there. Okay. So I've got reverb on this, Eventide Black Hole. Just listen to the difference. And by the way, I'm putting the reverb before the tape. I mean, you could experiment with it after if you want, but normally the tape would be the last thing. With it off is very nice also. It's got more of this kind of music box quality. But I like the kind of sinister quality that the reverb is giving it. It makes it a bit more Halloween-y to me. I think this song has something quite nice and spooky about it. before we listen to that more, let me just very quickly look at the interface. So we have a preset menu up here divided into different sub-menus. We can use these forward and backward buttons to scroll through presets, but unfortunately when it is sized smaller, those disappear. When it's sized small, by the way, you're going to have to open it up if you want to get it like this. Or another cool thing, we look here, we get a separate section for modulation and delay. So I do really like how that's been done. I've asked the developer if they could add the backwards and forwards button for when it is in the default, when it is in the smaller size. And I've also asked them if they could add forward and backward buttons here. Look, when you have it small, I really dislike these kinds of preset menus. Some developers use them. It's really not at all the ideal type of preset menu, in my opinion. So I wouldn't mind a change there, definitely. I hope they can implement that. But in general, not a bad interface. Now, saturation, we have various types. And we can see these changes visually over here. Now, then we have a choice of different tape impulse responses that will help to emulate different tape styles. One cool thing is it's got these microset things, so that's quite nice if you like lo-fi stuff. We have level meters over here. We've got a noise section. So again, we can choose different types of noise from different types of tape sources. And then auto gain over in the output section is quite an important one, because auto gain will allow us to change the drive without things getting really out of control. So be careful. If you have your drive very high and you suddenly turn auto gain off, you might regret it. But there is a panic button, so you can use that to quickly turn the sound off. You can control the overall output level, and you've also got control over the dry and wet mix here. In the noise section, crosstalk will change the feedback between the left and the right ear. That might be interesting to play around with in combination with reverb. There are other things that work in combination. The hysteresis and remanence work together. If there's no value on hysteresis, then remanence button will not do anything, the remanence knob. So that's important to be aware of. You'll see these in action in a minute when I start playing around with it. Then we have wow and flutter. So these are these kind of warped sounds that you can get, especially on a sort of older tape machine, for example. So wow is the slower one, flutter is the faster one. And then we have delay with separate left and right delay times and feedback levels, although unfortunately not also separate amount levels for left and right delay, which would be quite a nice thing to see. And then we have here this cool portamento knob. So this can allow us to change the delay time without getting some of the unpleasant sounds that you can get when you do that. I mean, sometimes when you do that right, it can sound good. Other times you might not want that change you get when changing from one delay time to another. So we can use the portamento to kind of smooth that out. All right, so let me go in here and start playing around with things. So drive. Observe the asymmetry, difference between the left and the right. So this is as even harmonics get added in. So the remanence is basically changing the lag time of the hysteresis. It's basically a way to tone the effect down. So you see how here we're getting a much more digital clipping. It's less pleasing than the tape one. But it might be what you want. So this rectify one is interesting. What that's doing is taking all of the inverted parts of the waveform and re-inverting them, basically, put them up here. And what Half-Rectify does is, see, it's, instead of putting them up here, it's putting it at 0. Okay, so that's that. Now let's just go back to default a second. So let's play with the tape response types. Let me go straight in and get something a bit radical. So micro cassette. So this got very lo-fi now. So this is where it's good to have the output knob. Because that's also got a lot quieter, so you might want to put that volume up. And then we can play around with the low pass and high pass, and we can see here the difference between the unprocessed and the processed signals. So that's really cool. So here we're getting more professional tape, so much higher fidelity. You can see the high loss there. So we have these minimum phase ones. We can get rid of phase problems by using those. Let's put the delay on this one. Now here, when we apply noise, we can put it pre-delay or post-delay. Listen to how this crosstalk changes things. So basically, it seems to me that the crosstalk, when you have the left and right delays on separate times, because they start kind of talking to each other, sharing their signal with each other, the difference between the left and the right becomes less noticeable. Now let's look at wow and flutter. I'll take the delay off for a second. We can modulate that, get more variety. Less is more. You can sync it, but I think it's generally better unsynced. Flutter. Much faster than wow. Again, we can modulate that. Now, with the delay, first of all, we turn it on by pressing enable. Now here, if initial is not selected, you can hear that the quality has increased a lot there, right? That's because it's not processing the input signal, it's only processing the delay. So the processed part of the signal gets this tape response and saturation and noise and so on applied to it, but the original signal doesn't. And then if we choose initial here, then everything gets processed, the processed signal, it's all processed together by these things. And then sync is again for whether we sync these or not. Sorry, no, that's for whether we sync, sorry, I'm thinking about link. So sync is whether it's beat-based or milliseconds based. And then link is whether the left and right are linked or not. And then I'll play around here and I'll play around with the portamento, and you'll notice the difference when I change the delay time with no portamento and when I change it with portamento. See if you can hear what's going on there. So that's no portamento. Now let's put portamento up. That can be quite cool, right? I like that. Adding to the Halloween atmosphere, definitely. So we'll bring the output down and put the feedback up. And that's quite quickly getting out of control. So let's keep it down a bit more manageable. Okay, so there we go, everyone. That gives you a brief idea of Caelum Audio Tape Pro. Now, like I said, I'm not going to compare them directly. That's going to make this video too long, and I've already done a video on Reelbus, which took me ages because this manual was quite tricky, I found. So you can go and watch that. I've already put the work into giving all the details on Reelbus. Just to mention very briefly a few details. First thing, in Reelbus we get different types of screens depending on how we're using it. For example, whether we're using it as an insert effects and a send effects, and those will alter the way it processes things. It's also got this master bus screen where you have just a few knobs that you tweak. So, you know, you can have various views. You can go in and do things in detail. For example, here in the recorder mode. So we have a few different things in the tape setting. For example, we have compression and spectrum, which are not in the Tape Pro. Noise is divided into two types, hiss and asperity, and we have a separate wear control. Wow and flutter is together, not separate. So that's the difference. The way it treats saturation with the drive thing is very, very different. In Reelbus, we use this and this together to get a lot of control over exactly where the saturation is. That's quite interesting, actually. You can watch the video for more on that. Reelbus has a flanger, so Tape Pro doesn't have a flanger. And Reelbus has echo with high pass and a low pass filter after each echo, and a separate amount. I think that's for the feedback for each delay, the left and right. It also has some different types of panning and rotation and so on for the left and right delay. So that's quite an interesting feature there. It gives you the opportunity to change the tape speed. So you've got a lot of control over that. But Tape Pro basically puts more just separate tape types together, because if we look here in Reelbus, we're only getting a few choices. But when we use these choices combined with, you know, the different types of saturation and different types of tape speed, I mean, it's extremely customizable. So I don't think it's a problem that this doesn't have many tape types. So those are a few things. It's also got a start and a stop thing where you can do these tape starts and stops. That's kind of cool, a bit of a one-trick pony thing, really, but some people like that. Anyway, and in general, they're both very good apps. One thing I would say in Tape Pro's benefit is that it's cheaper. I think, if I remember right, this is only $4 maybe. So it's very reasonably priced. Tone Boosters apps are not expensive either, but they have got more expensive over the past year or so. Anyway, so yeah, as I say, if you're more interested in comparing those in detail, you can watch my Reelbus video. But Tape Pro, I definitely really like it. It sounds good. I really like being able to see the waveforms here. Being able to see the hysteresis is really cool. I don't think that's something that Reelbus shows you. So yeah, it's a little bit easier to kind of visualize things here. I mean, Reelbus does have waveforms, but doesn't really do things in that same way as, you know, putting these things on to be visualized on the waveform. At least not that I remember from the last time I was using it. So yeah, there we go, folks. So don't forget, I've got 4 copies of this to give away if you're watching in the first 2 days of release. If you're watching after that, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future giveaways. And if you enjoyed this video, everyone, please do give it a like. If you've got a question, write a comment. I try to answer to as many comments as I can. And I'll see you in the next video, folks. Yeah, subscribe, you know. Have usually 2 or 3 videos coming out a week, maybe more sometimes, and usually have giveaways. So a lot of free apps to be given away. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.